Hello and welcome back to another flute tip of the week. The lighting is a little different today than normal. The light bulbs in my ceiling aren't really working properly. A whole bunch of them are kind of flashing on and off, and I can't actually get them out of the ceiling right now. This show is brought to you by 2 lamps, neither of which are quite strong enough. So many of my tips are geared towards personal development and personal practice. But I don't want to forget about my fellow teachers out there. So this is not just a flute tip of the week, but it is a teacher tip, because we all gotta stick together. Get to know your students and find things they personally enjoy and create links to the flute. This might sound overly simplistic, but the reason why this is so important is because in terms of different learning capabilities, like visual, oral, or physical, there are also personal experiences and interests that will create stronger links to what they're doing in their lessons with you and their own personal practice that will allow them to understand it a lot faster and quickly develop in a way that is going to stick. Every single student is different. Every single person is different. I'm going to give you a few different students who all have different personalities and interests and give you some examples of ways you can link what they do personally into your teaching. So let's take a look at student A. Let's call her Izzy. Izzy is a wonderful student. She works very hard, loves the flute, also loves to compose, enjoys video games, and on top of it all, she does fencing. So what we can take from that is she understands different characters and how to get to different levels, as according to video games. With composing, she has a general understanding of format, style, how chords are founded, and also the development of material. And then, with the fencing, we know that she has good physical coordination, as well as the ability to gain a new physical strength, either by getting stronger muscles or by learning how to anticipate the actions of other people based on what she sees. And this gives you a lot of options because she shows herself to be a very rounded person who learns through doing, through seeing patterns, and by recognizing characters and distinguishing them. She used to hate working on scales. So the way that I got her to better understand them and want to work on them was to start introducing different characters and to think of them as characters from video games she plays or cartoons she likes to watch. We also spent one lesson doing improvisation based on the scales and arpeggio patterns that she needed to do for an exam so that she could learn how to both respond to what I was playing as well as develop on material that she was already having in her head. And this gave her a better understanding of the music that was put in front of her, as this is the motif and this is how it's being developed. Let's take a look at student B. Let's call him Michael. He also loves video games, but he also enjoys doing computer programming, math, as well as building things with Lego. Immediately what we see is someone who understands the culmination of different bits of information and the building blocks of a strong structure. His major difficulty when we first started working together was his technique. It wasn't necessarily that he didn't have the capacity to do better, but he just didn't have the work ethic or patience to stick with the basics. And so for this student, I got him to think about his musicality and technique as a structure he's building with Legos, and that if he has something that has enough weight and strength at the bottom, then there's a much better chance he's going to be able to build a very tall structure that will last and that will not bend under pressure. Also, what we can take from math and computer programming, we know that he has a very analytical mind. And so it will be interesting for him to look at music and see what patterns he can see, what bits of information he recognizes, like partial scales and arpeggios, and how you can have different bits of information amount to the same product. So if you're doing a theme and variations, but they all end up coming to the same overall harmonic progression. All of these things combined for each of these students has allowed them to develop much more quickly than they ever could have hoped for. Because instead of having a teacher who goes paint by numbers, they have someone who takes a genuine interest in them as people and takes their own experiences and turns them into teaching tools. And this is how you, as a teacher, are able to feel confident and happy with the development of your students. So again, that tip was learn about your students' lives and interests and create links to flute playing. I hope you find this week's tip helpful. This goes for all of the teachers for no matter what instrument you play. I'll see you all next week. Flute happy and teach happy. First off, I just wanted to say that I am incredibly proud of my hockey team, the Ottawa Senators. We may have lost in Game 7 of the semifinal, but we got so much farther than anyone could have anticipated. Also, this is what my setup today looks like. There's lamp 1, and there's lamp 2. I was kind of starting to feel a little cramped.